It's a nice room and everything, but what's with the size of this coffee cup? We're in Pella, Iowa. And the question is, what is the plan for the day? First thing, I'm going to get out and get some breakfast here at the hotel. I'm staying at the Hotel Amsterdam, down in an area that, if I had to describe it with one or two words, I'd say the little canal running through this area out front. It's called the Molengracht Plaza, if you would. I would say, if I had to describe it, I would say it's kind of like slightly Epcot-ish, if you would. Like it's from Epcot, or more realistic, I guess like something put up for the World's Fair and kind of left here. It feels a little fake, but it's pretty. Anyway, the plan for today, I'm going to go up right on the corner up here is a big windmill. I guess you can go in there and do a little bit of a tour. I'm going to check that out. Attached to that is something called the Pella Historical Village. I also want to check out, get this, it's a Glockenspiel. And I know that's Frank's favorite word. I mean, Glockenspiel, what's with that? I also want to go to the Schult House. It's the original home of Domini H.P. Schult, the founder of Pella. So I want to check that out. Anyway, so the village, the windmill, walk around, maybe to hit a couple bakeries, like I need that. Check out the Glockenspiel, and then I'm going to head over to a lake. It's supposed to be a lake real close to here. Do a little exploring there. So that's on the agenda for today. Basically, one day in Pella. This came up as a town to check out in Iowa when I was doing my searching for places to visit in this year, my 50th, 60 year. I think this one came up through my AI creations, or my AI research, and as well as I think a Far magazine. A couple of places recommended this, so I'm happy with it so far. I feel safe here, and it's European, it's picturesque, and the weather's not too bad. I think it's right now it's in the high 60s. So let's go check it out. Just a side note, the coffee cups here at the Amsterdam Hotel might be a tad small, but the towels, very plush. Well, first off, you couldn't ask for better weather. I think it's about 68 right now. It's just a little chilly. I mean, you can see the sun's out. It's going to warm up today, but from what I've seen, most of the country is having a massive heat wave, so I'm enjoying the weather. But as you can see behind me and around me, this is this area I was talking about outside of the hotel. It feels quite, I don't know, sterile, like it was just put up recently for show. Anyway, there's a little cinema right here, Pella Windows and Doors over here. Some nail salons. Nobody's out here. I'm the only person wandering around. There's a family up here at the Glockenspiel, so to speak. It's a massage therapy place, nail salon, architect. It's kind of quiet here. Got no complaints. I'm just observing as the people getting their nails done are observing me vlogging. Yeah, I struggled a little bit this morning. I'm thinking, what am I gonna do to make this an interesting, travel story, besides just going into some of these places, and how can I make this like a travel show? And then I just stopped myself and said, you're missing the point again. It's not a travel show. It's your perspective. It's your unique perspective of these small towns. And that's what I hope today to be. Just a little slice of my day, a little perspective on a 60-year-old visiting a small town in Iowa called Pella that has, for some reason, tried to create a Dutch feel. I'm not sure why. I guess it has a lot to do with the Dutch immigrant population here. But again, like I read in the book, it said in the 60s where a lot of the towns were deteriorating. I guess they put some money into the town and refurbished or whatever they did. I'm interested to know, like, was that when this building was built here? Is that when some of the facades were put on some of the other buildings? Did they have Dutch influence when they first built the town? Maybe I'll ask that question if I run into somebody, a local. Might get that answer in the museum, actually, which is where I'm headed. But first, a windmill. Back in my early backpacking days of Europe, I'm reminded right now of the many times that I spent just randomly exploring little towns. When I went to Holland, to Den Haag actually, to go to the North Sea Jazz Festival one year, a couple of years. This area kind of reminds me of where I was staying. I was staying in a little pension with bed and breakfast, private home or something. It was a couple of tram rides away from the arena where they were holding the concerts and that sort of thing, where the festival location was. And it was streets like this. And although all the homes don't have a Dutch influence, I have that feeling that I did when I was there. There were many times too I would be going from one town to the next and just hop off, be on the train and would just hop off at a random little town that I'd never heard of, just to wander around and explore. And kind of what I'm doing right now. The museum opens at the windmill, I think at 10 is what I saw. There's tours starting at 10:30, so that's kind of what I'm holding out for. Decided to walk around a few blocks here. Hotels over here, as you can see. Finally made it up this way. Kind of really has that Amsterdam train station feeling to it. And again, all these houses around here. I took a couple of photos of a couple last night. Birds are chirping. It's cool out. It's not crowded. Another great morning to be alive. So I just scored a ticket for the 10:30 tour, and thought I was going to be the only person on the tour, but it's like 1,000 kids showed up. This museum looks incredible. There's so much to explore here, and I'm the only one back here. Of course, they just opened, so could be a little crazy later. But one thing I wanted to say is I can't remember. I remember what it was. I wanted to ask this girl, because it was a perfect time, nobody was there, about obviously these buildings were put here for a museum, but the other buildings in town, were they, well, I think I phrased the question before. We'll get that answer later. I wonder if they have these in a size 9.5. I'm really grateful for places like this that have preserved the history of an area in the world. And I'm reminded of how the world's changing now. And I don't want to be politically incorrect, but I'm going to be. As globalism sinks its teeth into just about every nook and cranny of the world, the globe, things become less distinct. Areas and people become less distinct, Holland is changing a lot. I mean, since I was there, for sure. All of Europe's changing since the creation of the European Union. And then with, like in the United States, with excessive migration, perhaps. Anyway, it's kind of nice to see history preserved, as you see here. And here comes the tour. So this museum is full of little places to go explore, like the shoemaker over there, the bakery. This is a typical, well, I don't know what this is. I guess it's a typical home. Very cozy. People pay big bucks to stay in a place like this if it was an Airbnb. Look at the stairway going up to God knows where. Well, it's not going to anywhere. It's the illusion. Notice all the chairs are really small. I mean, that's a high chair. It's supposed to be small, but even the regular chairs. Little crib, small bed. Look how close to the ground it is. Maybe that's for warmth. I don't know. Well done. I like this. Alright, might be time for the tour.
Blowing them onto it rather than trying to blow them off. So it's a little bit safer that way. And then they brought in some big cranes to lift that cap up. And they all would come out with their lawn chairs and just sit out here and watch that big spectacle going on. Because it was quite a deal for this little small town to have this thing built. And then you were talking to me about the Dutch fronts. This kind of gives, the reason I started here, this gives you an idea of the different Dutch fronts.
During my visit to the Pella Historical Museum, I found myself particularly captivated by the detailed model train and miniature Dutch village setup. Now this display hit close to home, as I used to have something similar to this, a model train setup of my own when I was a young boy. Of course, mine was nowhere near the scale of this intricate and immersive installation, but it did bring back some nice memories. Our tour guide provided some fascinating insights, explaining how the Dutch designed their tall, narrow building facades to reduce property tax liability. In cities like Amsterdam, property taxes were based on the width of the house along the canals, so the Dutch cleverly built narrow homes that extended deep into the lot. Now, I was in Amsterdam. I don't remember ever hearing that little tidbit of information. Kind of cool. They're definitely unique. If you see these facades, they're, well, you know you're in Amsterdam, but anyway, I'm getting off track here. Let me get back to the script. This design also featured deep staircases and large windows used for hoisting furniture with the aid of hooks mounted on the exterior. In other words, that's how they loaded their stuff in. The Motto Village itself brought this architectural style to life, with beautifully replicated narrow buildings lining the streets, windmills turning gently in the breeze, and a fully functioning train weaving through the scene. Now, the level of detail in this exhibit was absolutely astounding. It captured not only the essence of Dutch design, but also the vibrant community life of a traditional Dutch village. It personally also reminded me of the joy and creativity I felt as a child, but of course on a much grander and more inspiring scale.
Here, you can see the hoist, how it goes up, and each floor is offset by 5 inches to make up for the wind hoist pulling it up. They have another miller over here who's kind of making sure that everything comes in evenly into the millstone. So he might move these weights around, and these weights are bouncing up and down like so when they're milling. So you got a lot of noise going on here. You got the blades going about 20-25 miles an hour. And then the miller would also be standing here and fixing the millstone to see how much pressure or how much non-pressure he wants.
Well, I gotta say, while I remember his name, thank you, Bill, for the amazing tour of this windmill. I gotta tell you, it's probably one of the coolest windmill tours I've ever been on. But as you guys know what I'm gonna say next, it's the only windmill tour I've ever been on. I had no idea. I mean, it would have been a shame to come to a place like this and not go on a tour like that to get a little bit more of a feel for what these things are. I mean, most of them were here to grind wheat. I had no idea. I didn't even know what they did. So very elaborate. One of the things that stood out, I think the very top of this windmill, they call it the dome. I think he said it's, did he say it's 27 tons or something? Amazing. I'm gonna go to the website to verify that. I'll put the total at the bottom. Anyway, that's the windmill tour. I can come back and check out the museum a little bit later too. She said the ticket's good for all day, so I'm gonna go drop off my pamphlets and go grab a Danish. I can't imagine what it's like here. The middle of, actually the beginning of May is what they say. There's a tulip, it's like a festival that they have in town. I saw pictures. They do a lot of Dutch things, you know. Guy said something about them carrying cheese and cutting cheese off of the big cheese wheel and flinging it into the audience, which I thought was a little odd. This place must be teeming with people. Again, beginning of May, tulip season. Of course, I'm not here during tulip season, but they do have a lot of flowers out, which is kind of cool. Flower boxes, hanging baskets and whatnot. But anyway, someday I'm going to hit the tulip festival, either here or in Holland or somewhere. I always miss these big flower moments. I'm always either early or late for the lavender. And yeah, I'm going to get a Danish. Apple ring. That was a hard choice. Boy, they had a lot of stuff in there. I'm sure I'll be back. I like it here. I mean, I hate to generalize and say that everybody in this town is nice, but everybody I've come in contact with has been super nice. I wanted to go in this Schult house. It doesn't open up till the afternoon, but there was a gardener in the back. And just started asking her a couple of questions, and she was very nice. Gave me a little bit of the history of things around here. I guess Pella Windows and Doors is like one of the largest employers around. She actually retired from there after 23 years, and I think she still works there one day a week. It's down Main Street, and there's like a little museum down there. I might check that out. She told me to go out to the lake and the dam to check that out, which I had on my list. But get down, and while I'm waiting, go down and check out. There's a little place, a little park here around the corner. So anyway, loving the people here. Anything else I wanted to mention, the tour guide for the windmill had told me, because I was asking him about the architecture here, and he said any of the new buildings downtown, he says anytime they build anything, there's like code where they need to put in some sort of a Dutch feature to the exterior architecturally. So hence the reason everything looks like they're Dutch. All right, so I can't recommend them because I've never been in there, but I'm gonna look into it. There's a place called Dwellings Bed and Breakfast. It's right on Main Street, 2 blocks away from that park I was just in. And the houses I'm going to show here are like next door to each other. You know, sometimes, again, I said I was going to go to small towns on my way through this country, kind of looking at places that I wouldn't mind living. I gotta be honest with you, man. I don't know what I would do here, but Pella seems to be one of them. I'm going to put that on the list. Again, I don't know what's around here. Again, what I would do. Well, I'm here for a day. I'm enjoying it for a day. Pella for the win. But seriously, if you're here, check out that bed and breakfast. Dwellings Bed and Breakfast. Not sponsored. You know, one of the things I like to try to find when I'm traveling is unique lodging. When I was looking through, may have been Expedia, there was a place called it was a place. It was like a loft. And they said, we're right next to the Glockenspiel. My first reaction was, as my buddy Frank would say, Glockenspiel? Well, what's with that? They chime throughout the day. I think I'm gonna have to catch it later, because right now I've decided to head out to the lake. So that's where we're gonna go. Whatever lake that is, name is right here. Yeah, it'd be good to get in the car, get some AC going, and see some of the scenery here in Iowa, outside of Pella. I'm not sure what else to say. Let's go.
Well, I've finally seen one of these flooded areas. Looks like I'm not going no further.
So just a little quick elevator chat. I've been kind of taking note of the various places that I've been going to, and you know, trying to ask them if they have a video about their place, or a YouTube or a website. Hold on. Yeah, I've been trying to get the elevator pitch down, and I was in an elevator and couldn't really get the pitch down. What am I trying to say here? Hold on. In most of these places I've been to recently, I've been asking them, you know, do you have a documentary made on your place yet, or a web presence, you know, like a YouTube channel? You know, from the bed and breakfast I was at, to the farm, to this thing this morning, the windmill, and some other place I was at, the part of the museum. And the reality is if there is, I'll try to find it and include it in my story, or parts of it. And if not, it's kind of the way I'm thinking, you know? There's a lot of stories out there. You know, that would have been a great place to craft a story in that windmill. All that wood, beautiful things to light, interview people in. It was just so much richness to the scene, you know? We could have gotten some really good audio, some great B-roll, some audio of the wood hitting the wood and the grinding of the flour. Again, but more of the story about it. Why is it interesting, you know? And then help make it more interesting in your storytelling technique, and your filming, and your music choice, and of course the script and the narrative. But for now, it's just food for thought. Maybe for another day. Sounds like a haunted glockenspiel. Jesus.
Oh, really? Really good? Okay. And he's already been. Yeah.
Well, even after I had her, they're like, oh, all right.
You know, I honestly can't help but think every time I look at this house across the street, it would be a perfect scene for a Wes Anderson film. Love this time of day. Look at that beautiful light.
You know, I talk about how I use AI all the time, but I also talk about how important it is to double check AI. I had done a blog post, another blog post on Pella, or actually an article, I haven't posted it yet, but the ChatGPT, research, and it had mentioned, it was like a little itinerary, you know, how to spend a full day with 2 nights in Pella, and it had mentioned dinner at a place called Rathaus Steakhouse. The closest Rathaus Steakhouse I could find was in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm in Pella, Iowa. Be a hell of a trek. I am going to the, I think it's called the Butcher's Brew House. And I'm going to go to the other side of the road because the lighting on the buildings is stupendous. And I want to capture that. It's like a bubble machine going on. Kids are going nuts. So there was a farmer's market in this area. This is a town park here. It's I just got run over by a kid. This is like one of the safest and cleanest small town parks I've ever seen. The buildings in the background behind the bubbles were very typical of this area. They're Dutch, obviously, and that's what this town's known for. And I'm gonna send you another video of what's going on in front of me now. It's like an orchestra out here. I was just thinking earlier today when I said something about possibly moving to a place like this, and my immediate response to myself was, well, what would I do? And the real question is, well, what am I doing in West Palm? You know, I have a business, or had a business, a career that thrived on the location I was at, but I've really wound that down, you know? I'm traveling now a little bit more. Maybe that's my future, you know? Maybe a home base in the middle of the country. I kind of took a little bit of a break in the middle of the day today. Drove out by the lake. They say it's the largest lake in Iowa. And didn't really, it's a little warm. I think if I would have gone on a hike or something, probably would have seen more. Didn't seem to be too much activity going on there. A little bit of boating, but not much. So, I mean, it was a nice drive. It wasn't epic, but a nice diversion from the city. But then I kind of got wore out a little bit. Band's still going back there. Relaxed in the room. Got caught up in some news stuff going on. And forgot I was traveling, basically. And here I am trying to find food. The steak place I wanted to go to, they just stopped serving, so somebody's happy. Just walking some of my dinner off. I gotta say that the restaurant at the Amsterdam Hotel, it's actually pretty good. There's quite a variety of stuff to choose from. Nice people. They have non-alcoholic beer, which is good. The Stella, which I really like, is fantastic. You know, although this is fake, obviously, this little canal that was put in here, I gotta admit, it's kind of cool, you know? It's better than not having it. It's like, if you've ever been to Vegas, they have that, they create the Venetian Canal there in the Venetian. Yeah, it's man-made, but still kind of cool, and it's not crowded. I bet you it looks gorgeous during the Tulip Festival. They probably do a good job really making this pretty. So anyway, it's lit well, it's safe, it's a lot cleaner, and doesn't smell as much as the real Amsterdam. Pella windows and doors. Anyway, yeah, we'll turn it in. Just want to take a few steps, come outside, get a breath of fresh air. And it's cool out too. That's another thing. It's like 60, probably like 67, 68. Nice end to an awesome day. All right, I'll see you in the morning.